Welcome to the Oscars preview series, guys, of 2022. Oh my God. Thanks for joining us on another episode. My name is Joshua Afiriyie. I'm the co-founder of Babellion, here with my right-hand woman.
Gladia Boldt.
Yeah.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about Denis Villeneuve's Dune, something that I was lucky enough to see early because of our good friend Titus, who gave us the opportunity when we were putting Paul dolls around campus, creating a little scavenger hunt, and a good marketing team.
True. Yes, so Dune, released October 21st, 2021. It's got 9 nominations for Best Picture, obviously. Cinematography, costume design, film editing, makeup and hair, original score, production design, sound, visual aspects, and adapted screenplay. That is a lot of nominations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know the hype for Dune was real. I think it was Warner Bros.' first theatrical release since the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And there was also just a lot of people like, oh, this is the next Star Wars. This is going to be this great big thing. But I guess first we should just talk about how we felt about the movie initially, what it did well. I guess we'll lead with a good foot forward.
Yes.
Do you have any?
Well, I mean, the series does have a lot of hype behind it. It has a very strong fan base. My grandparents were one of them, and they introduced the books to me a few years ago. And I didn't really get into it, which is my fault because it requires an attention span and a patience that I think the film does too.
Yeah.
So I think initially the film, parts of it that didn't resonate with me were maybe due to my lack of patience. Because I think as viewers now, we kind of demand constant, not hand-holding, but like action, and not even action. We demand constant storytelling. And there's constant storytelling, but it is slower.
And slower. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think initially my reaction to it was kind of, it was a long movie to start off. It was almost 3 hours. I'm going into the negative right now. I said I was going to leave positive, but well, yeah, it was a very long runtime, and I can't say it was engaging enough for me personally. But then again, thinking about it, I'm like, all right, maybe if I had read the book to start with, I might have had a different opinion. And also, maybe I'm just, like you said, like I'm so used to as a viewer and an audience member, I just combined the two words. Perfect. As a viewer and an audience member, I'm used to like constant engagement, constant storytelling.
Stimulation.
Constant stimulation.
I don't want to say storytelling because it's still happening, but stimulation.
Yeah. And so, once I finished the movie, I was kind of like, oh, not that much happened. I mean, a lot happened, and maybe the story could have been condensed, but I'm not the director. It was his vision, and he read the books. He's a big fan.
Yeah, he read it at 14, and he did split it in half. He split the first installment in half, so you have to wonder, it could have been 6 hours. And I know of 2 adaptations. Yeah. There was one that was 12 hours, but that was encompassing more of the story, and then there was the 2-hour one that was released a decade ago, and maybe more than that. Yeah, but it was received pretty well. So I think he was trying to go in between those two.
Right.
And there's a lot of world building that happens. Right. And if you're thrust into that without knowing anything about the environment that you're in, it's going to be hard to watch. So I get part of why it was so elongated.
Yeah. But I mean, we can easily, bouncing off of that, the production design, the costume design, they did such a good job building a world. The world of Dune, I think, was so well done. Yeah, and I was just coming off of like a Vanity Fair interview. Yes. Well, I just watched just returning from the Vanity Fair. But no, I just watched a Vanity Fair interview where they were interviewing the director, of course. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, in the world of Dune, there's pretty much not really a lot of advanced technology, no AI. And I'm like thinking about the movie now. I'm like, yeah, there was not a lot of like flashy in your face like electronics, and they still managed to make it feel like it was, you know, a world so far from our own.
Yeah. And we're used to seeing a lot of technological structures in sci-fi, fantasy. It's not so much fantasy, but
yeah. It's definitely an interesting take on the genre in general, because it's very much like a, I don't know, it just feels so ancient but removed. Removed and so futuristic at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. But going off of that, it's harder when you're doing, I feel like when you're doing sci-fi fantasy, it's hard to capture, it's a little harder to capture your audience if you don't have all the flashy lights and the action and all these different things, because it's not the world we already exist in, so it's harder to place yourself in the story. And so I feel like a lot of this first movie in Dune was just world building, setting the stage, putting you in the environment, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity for us to be with Paul really for good amounts of time to really develop a relationship with one character and have us explore the world through that character.
That would have helped.
Yeah,
I felt that there were a lot of images that were used, and images can be really good, like tableaus and stage work, but not really scenes. Like there are not so many scenes that are sticking with me right now. And again, I told you right before we started filming this that I was worried about speaking in generalities just because I don't remember many specific moments that happened. The image of Chani, Zendaya's character, that was used, I don't know if it was the same clip, but that was used again and again, her looking. And I know it's supposed to show that he's haunted, but it kind of it makes her character a little bit less dynamic. You know, she's supposed to be, when she starts speaking, it's a shock because you have been just seeing her stare right at the camera, right?
Right.
How'd you feel about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe the filmmaker did his job, because I guess seeing her in person is kind of a little disorienting. And then it's like, that's... Paul meeting her at that time is probably really disorienting for him too. So it's like, he's thinking about the audience, at least on that level.
Yeah, maybe that was part of it, why he made it that way.
Right.
Because it's more jarring.
Yeah. But no, I agree. It definitely feels like there's a lot of images, a lot of, just showing us the world. And yeah, I think the most compelling moments for me, because I'm so, like, me as a viewer, I'm very like invested in the characters within the world. The world doesn't matter so much to me. And I think any audience member can really say that the characters are the most compelling part of any story. But the two most powerful scenes in the movie was that one scene where he's like with the head girl, the girl in the veil. I don't know her like official name. The Pope woman. She like leads the matriarchal,
the witch.
Yeah. And Paul's got his hand in the box and he's like trying to keep it all together. Cause like the actors were doing their thing. I feel like I wanted to see, you have some really talented actors. And I don't know if they got a lot of time to or do a lot beyond just looking a certain way or taking action. But I mean, I don't know how valid that criticism is, but
I mean, I kind of agree, because I had read a little bit about how some of the performances were showy. And I think that happens when you have to show so much and you don't, even with or without text, because there are moments where it's silent, but just even the dialogue that they're given is kind of on the nose, so they have to really just
say
tell.
It.
And it's hard for actors to move beyond that. And the ones, I mean, I wrote it down, the names that did stick with me, because they had more human moments. So Jason Momoa, I thought his Bond was that felt pretty real. It could have felt more real, I think. We would have felt more sadness, sympathy when he passed away. When he was murdered. Yeah. But
we're being so polite.
I know. Oh God. And Duncan Brewster, she played Dr. Liette Keynes. But that character really, I was focused on that character whenever that character was on screen. And that might have had a lot to do with her, but also what she was given. Right. She was able to kind of take us through the world. Yeah. Whereas the other ones, it almost felt like those characters didn't know very much about their world.
Right.
That might not be fair.
Yeah. But I mean, that's interesting because, I mean, again, like when you're, I mean, and we talked about this after the movie too, like when they have a really challenging role in bringing this movie to life as actors, and you kind of have to, like, you're playing a role that's so detached from reality that it's like you really have to use your imagination and really step into the role,
buy into it. Right.
So when the writing might not lend itself to a lot of interpretation, when there's not a lot of subtext, you're gonna get a lot of on the nose dialogue. This is
and it does establish the world, I guess. Yeah. So I think we'll have to see what the next installment, what that brings, if that changes. Right. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no way around that. Yeah. And we had characters who were so, the Skarsgård character that, I don't want to call him a creature, but he's rising out of the water. Right? And there's a lot of special effects involved. It's hard now to watch action films that are entirely, even though there's no AI in the world, where there's so much that is not real, so much is green screened, because the whole time, we were talking about this too, you don't know what is actually happening, what the actors are seeing. So the imagination is so important, but also because that kind of overtakes the scenes, the moments. So every time I'd see him, I'd almost laugh. Because it was just this...
It was so unreal. Yeah.
Maybe intentionally. Everything could have been.
Right. And I think, like... Now, you saw it in theaters. Yes. And I did not. I saw it at home in my living room. So, I don't know if that was how the director intended for the audience to consume the film. Because I think it was made to really be an experience. And I think keeping that in mind, maybe you kind of had to be inside of the theater to really experience the full experience of it.
Yeah, that did change it for me. Yeah. Well, in theater, people talk a lot about spectacle, right? And you just have to remove the voice in your head that is not imagining things. Yeah. So the spectacle was definitely part of the story. And when you get to see these elements that are supposed to be heard with that kind of sound, that does, and seen with that kind of volume, you have a different experience. Yeah.
I just wish we'd gotten more moments with the characters. I really do. Again, if we had just stayed with Paul or stayed with somebody, like, it was just a lot of bouncing around, a lot of, like, objective, like, God-like storytelling where there's no real... Yes. I don't know. I mean, the story, like, again, the story keeps telling us that Paul is, like, the one, and he's, like, all this and he's all that, but it's, like, I feel like I didn't even spend enough time with this character to really even care about him. Yeah. Like, I'm not really invested in him at all.
And I think if, as a filmmaker, you're asking people to suspend their disbelief, you have to be able to hold their attention. And for a lot of people, I don't know if that necessarily happened. Yeah. I will say, I think Chalamet does a good job of taking on the traits of his character. He's vulnerable. He's still very confident. He plays these kind of confident characters, but it's countered by some humanity. He's aware of the fact that his environment's changing. People around him are changing. And he listens. There's a lot of listening happening from him, which I think might have helped a little bit because you don't necessarily always see people listening.
Yeah.
And then you lose part of the humanity.
Right, you know? Right. That's a really great point. Yeah. No, because he did such a good job. Him and I can't remember the name of his mother. That actress, I think, did a very good job as well.
I also look her up to give her due.
Yeah, pay her flowers, give her flowers. I don't know if Oscar Isaac, he did well. He did good. Oscar Isaac's like,
hey,
right.
You know, you're making good. Rebecca Ferguson.
Yes, Rebecca Ferguson.
It's Oscar Isaac. He has a reputation that follows him, and you do expect to see. And I think he did live up to it. I think it's just because he's kind of playing a larger than life character again. It's it's a totally new world, and you know what the grandiosity of it is. The marketing around it, people are so excited. You know how much you're holding on to a lot of.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you navigate that?
You really got to give the director his flowers, because that is a really large task to undertake, to deliver this world in a way that makes sense and coach the actors into giving convincing performances. And it's just a lot to take on. But I think the end result was good. And I think, putting it into perspective that there are going to be like 2 other installments in the trilogy, it's like, okay, is it a trilogy?
I think there are more. There are definitely going to be more. I know that
I was like, there's like a lot of books.
This segment of it, there will be another, like a part 2 of part 1.
Ooh.
But it's a very long series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also, we're talking about the amount of power you take on because so many people's eyes are on it, but also just because the film involves so much money and so much. I don't know if the filmmaker felt like he had to get all of these elements, make sure that they're shown and that we're seeing all of just how big it is, but then the power again that can take over the scene. So we don't have enough of those intimate
moments. Yeah, to really bring us back into like, these are humans still like having a human experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some parts, I mean, I think when the worlds kind of cross, or not the worlds, but these cultures cross, you get a little bit.
Yeah,
and I hope that's a teaser for more of what we'll see going forward. Did you feel that way about those moments?
Yeah, I think the end was like the most
the most exciting we were gripped part. The last 15 minutes.
Yeah, gripped. That's a good word. Yeah. No, they really had me when the cultures were mixing and we really get to see Paul and his mother on his own, especially because that's like the best relationship.
Yes. That's the strongest.
Yeah. But I'm finally get to see Zendaya after only seeing like clips of her throughout the whole movie. I was like, where is she? But yeah, that was definitely one of the strongest moments.
And you really, I mean, these stories, a lot of what matters to the viewers is seeing where it's going and why it matters.
Right.
So you do start to see why it matters because maybe there's a statement made, but also you get to see they're going somewhere. There are things that are going to, I mean, I'm again speaking really generally because it didn't feel for a good portion of it like we were going anywhere. But then once you get past the sandworm and these giant images and you start interacting, the characters start interacting.
Right.
That's when you see, okay, it's moving.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to cap it there unless you have any last thoughts.
I am excited to see where it goes. And again, we want to give credit to, of course, the musicians who are involved, the set design. Those elements of spectacle were
strong.
Yes, and they were grand, strong. And they do deserve credit, of course.
Yeah.
And the actors, and of course the director too.
Yeah.
It's very easy to be critical when you're not part of the project,
right?
Which is, the nature of criticism.
Right.
So
right.
We're still allowed to view art critically. That's part of why creators create. They have to let people think.
Right.
But I'm not going to criticize anymore. We were able to think.
Yeah. And on that note, that is the end of the Oscar. Well, not the end of the series, but you better watch the rest of the series. I'm talking to you. Sitting in a chair, wherever you are right now, consuming this.
Lying in bed?
Lying in bed. On the train, in class.
In class. Oh. That is
commitment? Inexcusable. Yes, but
yeah, committed to your art, your craft. Don't.
All right. That's it, guys. Oh my God. See you later.